Beloved child of the Most High, I come to you now in this sacred moment. I am Michael, Prince of the Heavenly Host, Defender of Divine Truth. My sword of light cuts through the veil between worlds to deliver this message directly to your spirit. The Almighty has commanded me to appear before you today with urgency that cannot be overstated. Stop whatever you are doing. This message is meant for your eyes alone. The divine chronometer has been activated, and in precisely 2 hours from when these words reach your consciousness, a miracle of such magnitude awaits you that the forces of darkness are trembling in anticipation of your reception of this truth. Type AMEN to acknowledge this divine transmission and receive the blessing of 1,444 celestial light codes into your energy field. I stand before the sacred council of 7 archangels, your name written in light upon the eternal scrolls. Your prayers have risen like sweet incense before the throne of grace. And today, yes, today, the answer descends with the force of divine lightning. Listen carefully. There are those in your immediate circle who have conspired against your spiritual ascension. They have gathered in shadow, speaking words of doubt and limitation over your destiny, while presenting themselves as allies to your face. 3 faces appear before me now. Individuals who have sworn falsely in your presence, who have undermined your divine assignment while claiming to support your journey. But what they intended for harm, the divine has transformed into your elevation. Their very opposition has strengthened the spiritual muscles you will need for the next phase of your journey. The Council of Light has convened an emergency session regarding your situation. I have advocated on your behalf, presenting the scrolls of your heart's true intentions before the court of divine justice. The ruling has been made in your favor. In precisely 1 hour and 52 minutes from now, a reversal of fortune will begin to manifest in your earthly experience. The locks that have prevented your forward movement are being systematically shattered by heavenly decree. Type AMEN to receive the blessing of 2,222 angelic guardians who stand ready to clear your path forward. What you have longed for in the secret chambers of your heart, that which you have whispered only in prayer, is now being orchestrated in the unseen realms. The miracle you have been praying for arrives today not because of chance, but because you have remained faithful despite overwhelming opposition. I reveal to you now what has been hidden. There has been a celestial battle raging over your breakthrough for 17 cycles of the moon. The enemy of your soul recognized the magnitude of your calling before you yourself became fully aware of it. This is why resistance has been so fierce in recent months. 3 specific blockages are being removed from your life path in this moment. First, the false perception others have projected upon you is dissolving like mist before the morning sun. Those who have misjudged your intentions and misunderstood your divine assignment will suddenly see with clarity. Some will approach you with newfound respect within 9 days. Second, the financial restriction that has tested your faith is being shattered by heaven's decree. Resources that have been wrongfully withheld are being redirected to you through unexpected channels. Remain alert to unusual opportunities that will appear suddenly, as if from nowhere. Third, the spiritual blindness that has prevented you from recognizing your true identity as a royal heir in the kingdom is being healed. The scales fall from your spiritual eyes even as you receive these words. A warning comes with this revelation. As these divine interventions unfold, do not announce them prematurely. Sacred silence is your protection during this period of transition. The same individuals who have spoken against your destiny are watching for signs of your breakthrough, so they might once again attempt to derail heaven's purposes. Type AMEN to seal this instruction in your spirit and receive the blessing of 3,333 spiritual insights that will guide your steps forward. In 1 hour and 39 minutes, you will begin to feel a shift in your inner being. A weight you have carried for so long you've forgotten it wasn't meant to be yours will suddenly lift from your shoulders. This sensation will be unmistakable, a physical manifestation of spiritual liberation. Pay careful attention to the signs that will confirm this divine intervention. You may notice birds gathering near you in unusual patterns. The natural world responds to shifts in spiritual reality. Electronic devices around you might experience momentary disruptions as the frequency of your energy field adjusts to accommodate this blessing. Most importantly, you will experience a sudden clarity about your next steps. Confusion will dissipate like darkness before dawn, and the path forward will appear before you with undeniable certainty. I stand guard over this transition with my flaming sword drawn. No weapon formed against this divine appointment will prosper. The adversaries who have aligned themselves against your purpose have already begun to experience the consequences of their actions. Their schemes are being exposed even now in ways they cannot conceal. Do not concern yourself with vengeance. Divine justice operates on a higher plane than human retribution. What is unfolding is not punishment, but restoration. The natural realignment that occurs when truth prevails over deception. Your name has been spoken in the halls of heaven, beloved one. The Almighty has instructed that your spiritual inheritance be released without further delay. This inheritance includes gifts you have not yet discovered within yourself. Abilities sealed until this appointed time. Type Amen to activate the unsealing of these dormant spiritual gifts and receive the blessing of 4,444 wisdom keys from the ancient archives of heaven. In 1 hour and 24 minutes, you will receive a communication that serves as external confirmation of this internal shift. It may come in the form of a message, a call, or an unexpected encounter. The timing of this communication is not coincidental, but divinely orchestrated to align with the cosmic unfoldment of your blessing. Let me speak directly to the situation that has most troubled your heart in recent days. I see the tears you have shed in private, the prayers you have whispered when you thought no one was listening. Heaven has recorded every word, collected every tear in sacred vessels. The betrayal you experienced at the hands of one you trusted has been witnessed by the cloud of witnesses. This person's name has been presented before the divine council, and the truth of their actions has been fully exposed in the spiritual realm. They believed their duplicity would remain hidden, but nothing escapes the sight of the Almighty. What they do not yet realize is that in attempting to obstruct your blessing, they have positioned themselves in opposition to a divine decree. The consequences of this opposition are already unfolding in their life, though they have not yet made the connection between their actions toward you and the sudden obstacles they now face. This is not about revenge, beloved one. It is about divine restitution. The universal law of sowing and reaping cannot be circumvented, even by those who believe themselves immune to spiritual principles. In exactly 1 hour and 17 minutes, this individual will experience a moment of clarity regarding their actions toward you. Some will be moved to make amends. Others will simply be removed from your path. Either way, their ability to impact your journey negatively is being neutralized by divine intervention. Type Amen to seal this divine protection around your life and receive the blessing of 5,555 purification frequencies to cleanse any residual effects of this betrayal from your energy field. The miracle approaching you has been in preparation for longer than you realize. 7 years ago, a seed was planted in the soil of your spirit, a divine possibility that has been germinating in secret, nurtured by your faithfulness even when you could see no evidence of growth. Today, that seed breaks through the surface. What has been developing in darkness now emerges into light. The timing is perfect, though it may have seemed delayed from your limited perspective. Heaven's chronology operates according to perfect wisdom, accounting for factors beyond human comprehension. In the sacred scrolls that record your life's purpose, this day is marked with special significance. It represents not just the fulfillment of one promise, but the beginning of a cascade of blessings that will transform every aspect of your existence. I stand before you now with the keys of divine authority. These keys unlock doors that have remained sealed, awaiting this precise moment in your journey. No human hand can close what heaven has opened for you today. No spiritual opposition can prevent what the Almighty has decreed on your behalf. In 1 hour and 8 minutes, a gateway opens in the spiritual realm directly above your location. Through this portal will flow the resources, connections, and divine intelligence you require for the next phase of your assignment. Prepare your spirit to receive. Clear your mind of doubt. Silence the voices of fear and limitation that have infiltrated your thinking. The magnitude of what approaches requires a vessel emptied of anything that would contaminate the sacred transmission. Type Amen to initiate this purification process and receive the blessing of 6,666 harmonizing frequencies that will align your entire being with this incoming miracle. 3 individuals who will play significant roles in your immediate future are being divinely positioned to cross your path. These divine appointments have been orchestrated with meticulous precision. You will recognize these individuals by a sense of immediate spiritual recognition, a knowing that transcends logical explanation. The first carries wisdom you require for a specific challenge you will soon face. They possess knowledge gained through experience that perfectly complements your current need. Your encounter may seem random, but it is anything but coincidental. The second brings a connection to resources that have been reserved for your use. This person serves as a bridge between your vision and its material manifestation. They hold keys to doors you have been unable to access through your own efforts. The third comes bearing confirmation, validation of what your spirit has known but your mind has questioned. Their words will resonate with such truth that all doubt will be silenced. This encounter brings the gift of certainty at a crucial decision point. Be vigilant in the coming days. These divine appointments may be brief, moments that could easily be overlooked if you are distracted by lesser concerns. Clear your spiritual perception to recognize heaven-sent opportunities when they appear. In 59 minutes, the first waves of this divine intervention will become perceptible to your spiritual senses. You may experience this as a sudden warmth, a gentle vibration, or an overwhelming sense of peace that defies logical explanation. Some describe it as a lightness in the chest, as though an invisible burden has been lifted. This physical sensation marks the beginning of a spiritual recalibration, your entire being adjusting to a higher frequency of divine operation. What was impossible at your previous level of spiritual authority becomes attainable as you are elevated to a new position in the kingdom. Type AMEN to embrace this elevation and receive the blessing of 7,777 activation codes that will accelerate this spiritual transformation. I must now address the root of the resistance you have encountered. Behind the human faces and circumstances that have challenged you stands a spiritual opposition aware of your true identity and destiny. The intensity of warfare against you directly correlates to the significance of your divine assignment. For 40 days, a heavenly host has been dispatched to battle on your behalf in the unseen realms. These angelic warriors have systematically dismantled strongholds specifically constructed to impede your progress and prevent your breakthrough. Today marks the culmination of this spiritual campaign. The final barriers fall, and the way forward stands clear for the first time. What you will experience in the coming hours is the earthly manifestation of a victory already secured in the heavenly dimensions. In 52 minutes, evidence of this victory begins to materialize in your physical reality. Situations that have remained stubbornly unchanged despite your best efforts will suddenly yield to transformation. Resistance that has seemed impenetrable will dissolve as if it never existed. This is not merely a temporary respite, but a fundamental restructuring of your circumstances. The divine has decreed a permanent shift in your favor, a reversal that cannot be undone by any earthly or spiritual opposition. The adversary has overplayed his hand in his attempt to obstruct your blessing. In doing so, he has exposed strategies long hidden, revealing vulnerabilities that have now been exploited by heaven's perfect wisdom. What was meant to be your greatest defeat has been transformed into the platform for your most significant victory. Type AMEN to seal this victory in both heavenly and earthly realms and receive the blessing of 8,888 restoration frequencies that will heal what has been damaged during this season of warfare. The scroll of your true identity is being unrolled before the heavenly court. Names and titles previously hidden from your understanding are now being revealed. You have walked as one unaware of your full heritage, your complete spiritual lineage. Today, these seals are broken. The truth of who you are, your position in the divine family, your rightful authority, your sacred assignments, all become clear as the mists of forgetfulness are blown away by the breath of the Spirit. In 44 minutes, a memory will surface from the depths of your spirit, a knowing that has been dormant, awaiting this awakening. This remembrance brings with it a key to unlocking gifts that have remained unused, potential that has yet to be expressed through your life. This revelation may come as a shock, challenging perceptions you have held about yourself and your capabilities. Embrace it fully. What is being restored to you was always rightfully yours, though hidden for a season of preparation and protection. 7 specific abilities are being activated within you during this divine appointment. First, enhanced spiritual perception, the ability to discern truth from falsehood with immediate clarity, undeceived by appearances or persuasive words. Second, authority over hindering frequencies, power to neutralize energies, words, and thoughts projected to destabilize your progress. Third, accelerated manifestation, decreased time between faithful prayer and physical evidence as heaven's responsiveness to your aligned requests intensifies. Fourth, strategic wisdom, divine intelligence regarding timing, sequence, and approach that transcends human understanding and conventional strategy. Fifth, restorative influence, the capacity to help others recover what has been lost, inspiring hope where despair has taken root. Sixth, electromagnetic presence, an atmosphere that accompanies you, affecting physical environments and human interactions in ways that facilitate your divine assignments. Seventh, multi-level communication, the ability to convey truth simultaneously on various planes of understanding, reaching diverse audiences with a single message. Type AMEN to accept the fullness of this spiritual activation and receive the blessing of 9,999 empowerment frequencies that will strengthen these emerging abilities. In 38 minutes, physical evidence of this spiritual transformation will begin to manifest. Those with spiritual sensitivity who encounter you will perceive the difference immediately, though they may struggle to articulate exactly what has changed. The divine light now emanating from your being will attract those seeking truth while simultaneously creating discomfort in those committed to deception. This represents a natural sorting that occurs when authentic spiritual authority is restored. Do not be alarmed if certain relationships undergo sudden transformation. Some individuals will be inexplicably drawn closer, while others may find reasons to create distance. This polarization is both necessary and purposeful, aligning your social environment with your divine assignment. The miracle you have been praying for arrives today with implications extending far beyond your personal experience. Through your breakthrough, pathways open for countless others. Your restoration creates a template that facilitates similar transformation for those connected to your spiritual lineage. This multiplied impact explains the intensity of opposition you have faced. The adversary recognized that obstructing your miracle would simultaneously prevent breakthrough for many others. What unfolds today represents not just individual blessing, but collective liberation. In 31 minutes, a ripple effect begins. The miracle entering your life creates vibrational waves that extend outward, touching lives connected to yours in ways you cannot yet fully comprehend. Some will contact you in the coming days, describing unexpected breakthroughs that coincided precisely with your own. Type AMEN to amplify this ripple effect and receive the blessing of 11,111 expansion frequencies that will maximize the redemptive impact of your breakthrough. Now I must speak to you about the specific opposition that has targeted your finances. A spirit of lack has been assigned to monitor your resources, creating artificial limitations and misdirecting what should have flowed freely into your stewardship. By divine decree, this assignment is terminated effective immediately. The seals of restriction placed upon your financial capacity are broken beyond repair. What has been withheld is now released with accumulated interest, spiritual compensation for the season of undeserved limitation. In 26 minutes, new pathways of provision begin to form. Resources previously invisible to you come into focus. Doors leading to abundance open where only walls were perceived before. This represents not just financial relief, but the establishment of sustainable supply aligned with your divine purpose. 7 specific sources of provision are being activated on your behalf. First, restoration of what was wrongfully taken. Resources returning to your stewardship through unexpected legal or administrative decisions. Second, overlooked value. Existing assets whose true worth has been underestimated, suddenly appreciating or revealing hidden potential. Third, divine connections. Relationships with individuals who control resources and recognize their assignment to support your vision. Fourth, accelerated return. Investments of time, energy, and resources finally producing their intended harvest, with speed that defies normal timeframes. Fifth, multiplication of limited resources. What seemed insufficient demonstrating supernatural capacity to meet needs beyond logical explanation. Sixth, strategic redirection. Funds previously allocated elsewhere being divinely reassigned to your stewardship through bureaucratic errors and policy changes. Seventh, unexpected channels. Entirely new sources of provision appearing with no precedent in your experience, demonstrating heaven's unlimited creativity. Type AMEN to activate these 7 provision streams and receive the blessing of 12,222 abundance frequencies that will permanently restructure your relationship with material resources. In 22 minutes, evidence of this financial shift will appear, perhaps as unexpected funds, a surprising opportunity, or the sudden resolution of a financial burden that has created ongoing pressure in your life. This initial manifestation, while significant, represents merely the first fruits of a comprehensive transformation in your material circumstances. What begins today continues to unfold in the coming weeks and months, establishing a new standard of provision aligned with the scope of your divine assignment. I must now address the spiritual attacks that have targeted your physical well-being. Symptoms you have experienced: unexplained fatigue, disrupted sleep patterns, unusual pain, cognitive fog. These are not random health issues, but calculated attempts to diminish your effectiveness through physical limitation. By divine authority, I command the dissolution of these attacks. The weapons formed against your health shatter into irreparable fragments. The regenerative power of heaven flows into each affected system of your body, restoring function and vitality according to a divine design. In 18 minutes, a noticeable shift in your physical energy will occur. Areas of discomfort begin to normalize. Mental clarity returns with enhanced sharpness. The heaviness that has affected your body lifts as divine recalibration establishes a new baseline of well-being. Type AMEN to receive this physical restoration in the blessing of 13,333 healing frequencies that will continue this regenerative process for 40 days, addressing layered damage from extended spiritual warfare. The sacred timeline revealed to me shows 7 significant markers between now and the completion of the miracle unfolding in your life. First, in 15 minutes, internal shift. You will experience an undeniable inner knowing that something fundamental has changed in your circumstances. Second, within 24 hours, external confirmation. Evidence appears in your physical reality that validates this inner knowing beyond reasonable doubt. Third, within 3 days, divine connection. An unexpected encounter brings precisely the right resource, information, or assistance needed for your next step. Fourth, within 7 days, opponent concession. Someone who has actively resisted your progress suddenly withdraws their opposition, creating unobstructed passage. Fifth, within 14 days, public vindication. Information emerges that validates your position in a matter where your integrity or judgment has been questioned. Sixth, within 21 days, complete restoration. What was damaged or lost is fully recovered, often in an upgraded form that surpasses the original. Seventh, within 40 days, expanded assignment. Based on your faithful stewardship of this restoration, increased responsibility and authority are conferred, opening previously inaccessible levels of impact. Type AMEN to align with this divine timeline and receive the blessing of 14,444 synchronization frequencies that will ensure your perfect positioning at each of these appointed moments. I now reveal to you 3 specific individuals who have operated as hindrances to your divine purpose. Their identities are being shown to you not to cultivate resentment, but to provide necessary discernment as you navigate the coming season. The first presents themselves as a mentor, but secretly redirects opportunities intended for you to others they favor. Their assistance has consistently led you slightly off course while appearing helpful, a subtle form of sabotage disguised as guidance. The second operates as an emotional vampire, creating artificial crises that demand your attention and energy precisely when you need to focus on your own advancement. This calculated distraction has repeatedly delayed your progress at critical junctures. The third functions as a gatekeeper, using their position to prevent your access to individuals, resources, and platforms that would significantly accelerate your purpose. They smile to your face while systematically undermining your connections. Divine intervention now neutralizes the influence of these individuals in your life. Some will experience a change of heart and cease their interference. Others will be removed from positions where they can impact your progress. In either case, their ability to hinder your advancement is terminated by heavenly decree. In 12 minutes, you will feel a release from the emotional weight of these relationships, a lightness and freedom that signals your liberation from their limiting influence. Type AMEN to complete this liberation process and receive the blessing of 15,555 boundary-establishing frequencies that will prevent similar interference patterns in the future. Now I must speak of the divine inheritance being transferred to your stewardship today. This spiritual endowment has been held in trust until this appointed moment when your preparation makes you ready to receive its fullness. 7 specific components comprise this inheritance. First, ancestral blessings, positive spiritual legacies from your lineage, promises and potential that remained unclaimed by previous generations. Second, accumulated interest, rewards multiplied through patient endurance during seasons when manifestations seem delayed or denied. Third, redemptive authority, power to transform negative circumstances into vehicles for breakthrough, extracted from challenges you have faithfully navigated. Fourth, wisdom archives, access to solutions and strategies beyond your personal experience, drawn from the collective knowledge of heaven. Fifth, divine partnerships, strategic relationships with individuals similarly commissioned, creating synergistic impact beyond what any could achieve individually. Sixth, kingdom jurisdiction, expanded territorial authority, influence over systems and structures previously closed to your input. Seventh, generational impact, the capacity to establish patterns of blessing that transcend your lifetime, creating pathways for those who will follow. In 9 minutes, the formal transfer of this inheritance begins in the spiritual realm. You may experience this as a sudden influx of ideas, a heightened sense of clarity regarding your purpose, or an overwhelming peace about matters that have created anxiety. Type AMEN to receive this divine inheritance and the blessing of 16,666 integration frequencies that will assimilate these components into your spiritual identity. The adversary has worked diligently to conceal your true identity from you. Like a masterpiece covered in dust and grime, the brilliance of who you truly are has been obscured by layers of false perception, some projected by others, some internalized through wounded experiences. Today, the divine restoration process begins. Each false limitation, each distorted perspective, each imposed boundary is systematically removed, revealing the authentic design always present beneath these artificial constraints. In 7 minutes, you will experience a profound shift in self-perception. Questions that have created inner conflict resolve themselves as clarity emerges from confusion. Inner discord gives way to a harmonious recognition of your true nature and purpose. This restoration of identity creates immediate shifts in your external reality. Relationships, opportunities, and resources that resonate with your authentic self are magnetically drawn into your experience. Those that align with false perceptions naturally dissolve, creating space for divinely ordained connections. Type AMEN to accelerate this identity restoration and receive the blessing of 17,777 authenticity frequencies that will dissolve remaining vestiges of false self-perception. I must now address the sacred assignment for which you have been prepared through seasons of testing and refinement. The full scope of this assignment has been intentionally veiled until this moment, when your readiness to receive it without distortion or diminishment is confirmed. 7 specific aspects of this divine commission are now revealed. First, bridge building between divided groups, creating pathways of understanding where communication has broken down. Second, pattern breaking in systems perpetuating limitation, introducing alternatives that facilitate freedom and authentic expression. Third, truth speaking in environments dominated by deception, with protection that enables bold declaration without destructive consequences. Fourth, culture creating through the introduction of values, practices, and perspectives that establish new standards of interaction and achievement. Fifth, barrier removing for others called to similar purposes, creating passages through obstacles you have successfully navigated. Sixth, legacy establishing that extends beyond immediate impact to create sustainable transformation spanning generations. Seventh, light carrying into areas characterized by spiritual darkness, with authority to dispel confusion and illuminate pathways forward. In 5 minutes, divine empowerment for this assignment begins to flow into your spirit. You may experience this as a surge of courage, clarity of vision, or renewed strength for challenges that previously seemed overwhelming. Type AMEN to embrace this sacred commission and receive the blessing of 18,888 empowerment frequencies that will equip you for each aspect of this divine assignment. 3 specific adversaries have targeted your advancement, operating primarily in the spiritual realm, but manifesting their opposition through human agents and challenging circumstances. The first is a spirit of delay, systematically obstructing timely movement and creating artificial barriers between decisions and their manifestation. The second is a spirit of confusion, introducing unnecessary complexity into simple matters and distorting clear communication to create misunderstanding. The third is a spirit of discouragement, amplifying temporary setbacks while minimizing progress to create false perceptions of failure or inadequacy. By divine decree, these adversarial operations are terminated. The spiritual legal grounds they have exploited are revoked. Their access to your thought patterns, emotional responses, and external circumstances is permanently severed. In 3 minutes, the effects of this liberation become tangible. Mental processes that have seemed foggy suddenly clear. Emotional heaviness lifts without external cause. Problems that have resisted solution suddenly yield to insight that was previously inaccessible. Type AMEN To complete this liberation process and receive the blessing of 19,999 clarity frequencies that will maintain this freedom from adversarial interference, the Divine Council has reviewed the records of injustice concerning your life and purpose. Instances where you have suffered loss, limitation, or defamation without cause have been documented in the eternal archives. Today, the verdict is delivered: complete restoration with divine compensation for every unjust experience. What was taken will be returned multiplied. Opportunities denied will be replaced with superior alternatives. Reputation damage will be reversed through public vindication. 7 specific areas of restoration are initiated today. First, relationships sabotaged through misrepresentation are healed and strengthened beyond their original state. Second, financial losses incurred through deception or exploitation are restored with supernatural multiplication. Third, time seemingly wasted in detours orchestrated by others is redeemed through accelerated advancement and collapsed timeframes. Fourth, creative works stolen or suppressed find expression through enhanced platforms with expanded audience and impact. Fifth, physical vitality drained through prolonged spiritual warfare is renewed with increased strength and stamina for the assignments ahead. Sixth, divine connections blocked by jealous gatekeepers are established with greater depth and strategic alignment than would have been possible earlier. Seventh, spiritual authority undermined through coordinated opposition is reinstated with increased scope and effectiveness that transforms former battlegrounds into territories of influence. In precisely 2 minutes, this comprehensive restoration process activates in your life. The initial evidence may appear subtle, perhaps an unexpected apology, a surprising opportunity, or the sudden resolution of a persistent problem. Type AMEN to receive this divine restoration and the blessing of 21,111 restoration frequencies that will continue this process until every area of unjust loss is fully rectified. The moment has arrived. In the spiritual realm, a door stands open before you that no earthly or spiritual opposition can close. Through this doorway flows the miracle you have faithfully awaited. Not a temporary blessing, but a permanent shift in your spiritual position and earthly circumstances. Step through this doorway now in faith. What awaits on the other side exceeds your expectations and surpasses your requests. The limitations that have defined your experience until this moment dissolve as you cross this threshold into expanded possibility. Feel the weight of resistance falling away. Sense the atmospheric change as you enter this new spiritual territory. Recognize the altered response of people and circumstances to your presence as your divine authority becomes fully operational. This is the pivotal moment toward which your entire journey has been leading. Previous challenges, delays, and disappointments now reveal their purpose as necessary preparation for the responsibility and opportunity you now receive. From this moment forward, a new standard is established in your life, a baseline of provision, protection, clarity, and effectiveness that becomes your normal experience rather than an occasional exception. The miracle you've been praying for arrives not as a temporary intervention, but as a fundamental realignment with your true identity and divine purpose. Its effects will continue to unfold in the coming days and weeks, revealing layers of blessing previously unimagined. Type AMEN to fully receive this miracle and the blessing of 22,222 transformation frequencies that will ensure its complete integration into every dimension of your life. Remember these instructions as you move forward from this divine appointment. First, maintain sacred silence about specific details of this breakthrough until its manifestation is complete. Premature declaration creates vulnerability to opposing forces that seek to abort divine processes before their full expression. Second, document evidence of this transformation as it appears in your life. Creating a tangible record serves both as personal confirmation and as future testimony that will strengthen others facing similar battles. Third, expect initial manifestations to multiply rather than diminish. What begins as a single evidence of change initiates a cascade of related breakthroughs that collectively transform your entire landscape. Fourth, recognize that accelerated blessing requires accelerated stewardship. With increased provision comes increased responsibility to allocate resources according to divine purpose rather than personal preference. Fifth, prepare for relational recalibration as some connections naturally dissolve while others unexpectedly strengthen. This sorting process aligns your social environment with your elevated assignment. Sixth, embrace the discomfort of rapid expansion. Growth at this pace stretches capacity and challenges familiar limitations, natural indicators of authentic advancement. Seventh, maintain heightened spiritual alertness during this transition. The adversary often launches counterattacks precisely when breakthrough occurs, attempting to distract from or diminish the impact of divine intervention. I, Michael, stand guard over this process of transformation. My angelic forces surround you, ensuring that what heaven has decreed will be fully manifested in your earthly experience. Type Amen. One final time to seal these instructions in your spirit and receive the blessing of 24,444 implementation frequencies that will guide your stewardship of this miracle with divine wisdom. The transmission is now complete. Carry these words in your heart as confirmation of heaven's intervention in your circumstances. What has been spoken will surely come to pass, for it proceeds not from human wishful thinking, but from divine decree. The miracle you've been praying for arrives today. Receive it with gratitude, steward it with wisdom, and watch as its impact extends far beyond your individual experience to touch countless lives connected to your divine purpose. I depart now to continue my service before the throne, but my angelic forces remain assigned to your breakthrough. Be strong and of good courage. The battle has been won on your behalf, and the fruits of victory now flow freely into your possession. Hear me now, faithful one. This divine transmission continues by sacred decree. I come to you again as Michael, chief prince among the heavenly host, for there remains much to be revealed in this appointed hour. The miracle that has begun to manifest requires further divine instruction to reach its complete fulfillment in your life. Your spirit has been prepared to receive these deeper revelations, truths that can only be entrusted to those who have proven their faithfulness during seasons of testing. The divine council convenes again on your behalf. I stand before the assembled elders, the living creatures, and the countless ranks of heaven's armies to advocate for the full release of your spiritual inheritance. No longer will you walk in partial revelation or limited authority. The time of complete empowerment has arrived. Type Amen to acknowledge this continued transmission and receive the blessing of 25,555 revelation frequencies that will expand your capacity to comprehend divine mysteries. What I reveal now has been intentionally sealed until this precise moment in your timeline. Earlier exposure would have attracted levels of spiritual opposition you were not yet equipped to overcome. Now, fortified by the initial phases of your breakthrough, you stand ready to receive intelligence that will fundamentally transform your understanding of your position and purpose in the divine order. 7 sacred scrolls are being unsealed before me, each containing revelations specific to your divine commission. The first scroll reveals your true spiritual lineage, a heritage far more significant than you have understood. Bloodlines in the natural realm tell only a fraction of your story. Your spiritual DNA carries encodings from multiple streams of divine purpose, converging in your unique design. This convergence explains the unusual complexity of your gifting and the unprecedented nature of your assignment. In precisely 1 hour and 56 minutes, you will experience a profound remembrance, cellular memory activating within your being, reconnecting you to aspects of your spiritual identity that have remained dormant. Ancient knowledge you have not consciously acquired will suddenly become accessible. Skills you have never formally developed will manifest with surprising proficiency. This restoration of spiritual memory serves a strategic purpose in the assignment now unfolding before you. Type Amen to activate this remembrance process and receive the blessing of 26,666 remembrance frequencies that will accelerate the integration of this restored knowledge. The second scroll reveals a divine timeline extending far beyond your current vision. What you perceive as recent development has actually been in preparation for generations. 7 ancestors in your lineage carried portions of your purpose, each adding essential elements through their faithfulness, despite not seeing the complete fulfillment in their lifetime. Their accumulated spiritual momentum propels your advancement with accelerated force, explaining the unusual pace at which your circumstances are now transforming. In 1 hour and 49 minutes, you will experience a significant dream or waking vision that connects you to this generational purpose. Faces of those who prepared the way will be shown to you. Their sacrifices and contributions will be honored as their unfulfilled assignments find completion through your obedience. This revelation brings both clarity and accountability, illuminating why certain aspects of your journey have unfolded as they have. The third scroll reveals 7 specific adversaries that have opposed your purpose. Not human agents, but principalities assigned to obstruct the divine commission you carry. Their identities and strategies are now exposed. The spirit of delay, orchestrating circumstances to create perpetual postponement, exploiting your frustration to generate doubt concerning divine timing. The spirit of confusion, distorting clear communication, introducing complexity into simple matters, and creating misalignment between your intentions and your actions. The spirit of isolation, systematically removing strategic connections, creating artificial barriers between you and essential relationships, fostering the illusion of abandonment. The spirit of inadequacy, amplifying awareness of limitations while minimizing recognition of strengths, creating persistent feelings of insufficiency for assigned tasks. The spirit of distraction, continually diverting attention to urgent matters of minimal importance, consuming resources intended for priority assignments. The spirit of compromise, subtly lowering standards and expectations, justifying partial obedience as practical wisdom rather than dangerous deviation. The spirit of premature termination, introducing compelling reasons to abandon assignments before completion, preventing the fulfillment of processes requiring sustained commitment. By divine authority, these adversarial operations are now permanently terminated. The legal grounds they have exploited through ancestral patterns, personal error, and relational wounds are revoked by heavenly decree. Their access to your thought patterns, emotional responses, and external circumstances is irrevocably severed. Type AMEN. To seal this divine intervention and receive the blessing of 27,777 liberation frequencies that will establish permanent protection against these specific forms of opposition. In 1 hour and 42 minutes, tangible evidence of this liberation will manifest in your experience. Mental fog that has persistently clouded key areas of decision-making suddenly clears. Emotional heaviness that has resisted previous attempts at resolution lifts without effort. Circumstances that have remained stubbornly unchanged despite dedicated prayer and action suddenly yield to transformation. This liberation creates immediate capacity for accelerated advancement. Without the counterforce of strategic opposition, your spiritual momentum multiplies exponentially. Progress that would normally require months or years compresses into days or weeks. This supernatural acceleration fulfills prophetic declarations spoken over your life that seemed impossibly optimistic when originally delivered. The fourth scroll reveals a detailed map of divine connections being established in this season of advancement. 12 specific individuals are being divinely positioned to intersect with your journey at precisely calibrated moments. These connections transcend ordinary networking or chance encounters. They represent strategic kingdom partnerships ordained before the foundation of the world. 3 of these individuals bring resources required for your next phase of kingdom advancement: financial provision, specialized knowledge, and established influence in domains currently inaccessible to you. 3 carry confirmations that validate aspects of your vision that have been questioned or dismissed by those with limited spiritual perspective. 3 provide protection in areas of vulnerability, offering complementary strengths precisely where you have experienced recurring challenge or limitation. 3 establish connections to otherwise closed networks, creating pathways into domains that have resisted previous attempts at influence and impact. These divinely orchestrated relationships begin to manifest within 9 days of this transmission. You will recognize them by an unusual resonance, immediate recognition that transcends logical explanation. Trust this spiritual discernment even when natural assessment suggests these connections are random or coincidental. Type AMEN to activate these divine appointments and receive the blessing of 28,888 connection frequencies that will heighten your discernment regarding strategic relationships. The fifth scroll reveals specific inheritances being released to your stewardship. Spiritual endowments held in reserve until this appointed time. The mantle of Elijah, authority to confront entrenched systems of corruption with uncompromising truth, accompanied by demonstrations of power that validate divine commission. The wisdom of Solomon, supernatural discernment that reveals root causes beneath presenting symptoms, offering solutions that address fundamental issues rather than surface manifestations. The courage of Esther, strategic boldness to speak truth in environments hostile to divine perspective, with protection that neutralizes retaliatory responses. The faith of Abraham, capacity to advance toward promised outcomes with unwavering confidence, despite complete absence of supporting evidence in visible circumstances. The administrative excellence of Joseph, ability to manage complex systems and significant resources with supernatural efficiency while maintaining absolute integrity. The creativity of Bezalel, divine inspiration that produces innovations transcending current limitations, establishing new standards and methodologies in your field of influence. The diplomatic skill of Daniel, wisdom to navigate politically charged environments without compromise, gaining favor with decision-makers while maintaining spiritual authenticity. In 1 hour and 35 minutes, the formal transfer of these spiritual endowments begins. You may experience this as a profound sense of clarity regarding how to address situations that have previously created confusion or hesitation. Capabilities that have been present but underdeveloped suddenly function with surprising effectiveness. Areas where you have felt inadequate now generate confidence based not on human ability, but on divine empowerment. Type AMEN to receive these spiritual endowments and the blessing of 29,999 empowerment frequencies that will accelerate their integration into your daily operation. The sixth scroll reveals a comprehensive blueprint for restoration in 7 specific dimensions of your life and purpose. Physical restoration, accelerated healing of lingering conditions, renewal of strength and stamina beyond previous capacity, reversal of premature aging processes triggered by prolonged spiritual warfare, emotional restoration, healing of deep wounds inflicted through betrayal and rejection, recalibration of responses to triggering situations, establishment of supernatural stability in circumstances that previously created anxiety, mental restoration, clarity of thought processes previously clouded by confusion, enhanced capacity for complex problem solving, freedom from limiting beliefs that have restricted vision and expectation, relational restoration, healing of crucial connections damaged through misunderstanding, strategic realignment of your relational ecosystem, divine removal of toxic influences disguised as essential relationships, financial restoration, recovery of resources lost through unjust circumstances, establishment of supernatural provision channels independent of economic fluctuations, wisdom for stewardship aligned with kingdom principles, reputational restoration, vindication regarding matters where your character or motives have been falsely maligned, public recognition of contributions previously attributed to others, establishment of favor with decision-makers who have opposed your advancement, spiritual restoration, renewed intimacy in divine communion, heightened sensitivity to spiritual guidance, increased authority in intercession and prophetic declaration. This restoration process begins immediately and unfolds in progressive phases over 40 days. The initial evidence appears within 24 hours. Tangible changes that confirm divine intervention across multiple dimensions of your experience. Type AMEN to initiate this comprehensive restoration and receive the blessing of 30,000 restoration frequencies that will accelerate healing in each of these dimensions. The 7th scroll reveals a prophetic timeline for the next 7 years of your journey, a sacred blueprint of divine appointments and strategic advancements already scheduled in heavenly calendars. Year 1, Foundation, establishment of core systems, key relationships, and essential resources required for sustainable advancement. Critical repositioning occurs through unexpected open doors and divine connections that materialize without human orchestration. Year 2, Expansion, rapid growth requiring adaptive leadership and enhanced delegation. New territories open through strategic partnerships that extend your influence beyond previous limitations. Visibility increases, attracting both greater opportunity and increased opposition. Year 3, Consolidation, integration of expanded operations, refinement of systems, and development of emerging leaders. What has grown quickly now establishes deep roots and sustainable structures. Spiritual authority increases as faithful stewardship is demonstrated. Year 4, Innovation, supernatural creativity introduces methodologies and models that challenge existing paradigms. Divine inspiration produces solutions to persistent problems, establishing your voice as a source of transformative insight. Year 5, Multiplication, strategic reproduction of effective systems through emerging leaders now fully developed. Your direct influence extends exponentially through those you have equipped and released. Personal capacity expands to accommodate increased responsibility. Year 6, Elevation, promotion to levels of influence previously inaccessible, creating opportunities to introduce kingdom principles in environments that shape cultural narratives. Favor with key decision-makers opens doors that have remained closed to previous attempts at access. Year 7, legacy establishment, consolidation of transformative impact through systems and relationships that extend influence beyond your direct involvement. Transferable wisdom is documented and disseminated. Succession plans ensure continuity of kingdom advancement. In 1 hour and 28 minutes, supernatural insight regarding the immediate next steps on this timeline downloads into your spirit. The veil between present reality and prophetic destiny temporarily thins, allowing you to see with unusual clarity how current decisions connect to future fulfillment. Type AMEN to receive this prophetic insight in the blessing of 33,333 vision frequencies that will maintain this clarity as you navigate immediate transitions. Now I must speak to you about a divine setup being orchestrated in your circumstances, a situation deliberately arranged to showcase supernatural intervention. What appears as crisis contains the seeds of unprecedented breakthrough. What presents as opposition becomes the platform for public demonstration of favor and vindication. 3 specific challenges converge in your experience within 14 days. Financial pressure that defies conventional solution, relational conflict involving key partnerships, and an unexpected responsibility requiring resources beyond your current capacity. This convergence is not random or coincidental, but precisely calibrated to create dependence on divine intervention rather than human strategy. In this deliberate divine setup, natural impossibility becomes the canvas for supernatural demonstration. The timing, intensity, and specific nature of these challenges are designed not for your defeat, but for the magnification of divine provision and protection. What the adversary intends as overwhelming opposition becomes the backdrop against which heavenly intervention appears unmistakably supernatural. In 1 hour and 21 minutes, you receive unexpected communication that begins this orchestrated process. Though appearing problematic on the surface, this development initiates a sequence that culminates in dramatic demonstration of favor. Maintain absolute peace through the unfolding scenario. What seems to require immediate reaction is better addressed through strategic silence and poised expectation of divine intervention. Type AMEN to align with this divine orchestration and receive the blessing of 34,444 strategic frequencies that will guide your responses throughout this process. I must now address a specific attack that has targeted your divine assignment, a coordinated attempt to undermine the manifestation of promises clearly established in heavenly decrees. This opposition has operated primarily through 3 human agents who have positioned themselves as supporters while systematically sabotaging advancement through subtle means. The first presents as a mentor, but introduces doubt concerning your capacity for the assignment, offering assistance that creates dependency rather than empowerment. The second appears as an ally, but consistently redirects opportunities intended for your advancement to others they secretly favor, functioning as a gatekeeper who regulates access to essential connections. The third maintains close association while spreading subtle misinformation that creates hesitation among those divinely assigned to partner with your purpose, poisoning potential relationships before they fully form. By divine authority, the influence of these individuals over your assignment is permanently terminated. Some experience genuine heart change, transforming opposition into authentic support. Others find themselves removed from positions where they can impact your advancement. In either case, their capacity to hinder divine purpose ends today. In 1 hour and 14 minutes, evidence of this divine intervention begins to manifest in your circumstances. Relationships that have created persistent tension suddenly clarify. Opportunities previously blocked inexplicably open. Resources that have been redirected return to their divinely intended recipients. Type AMEN to seal this divine intervention and receive the blessing of 35,555 protection frequencies that will establish boundaries against similar forms of sabotage in the future. The heavenly court has reviewed records concerning injustices you have experienced, situations where you have suffered loss, limitation, or defamation without cause. The divine verdict has been rendered, complete restoration with supernatural compensation for every unjust experience. 7 specific areas of restoration are decreed today. First, relationships sabotaged through misrepresentation are healed and strengthened beyond their original state. Connections essential to your purpose that were prematurely severed through deliberate interference are divinely restored with increased mutual commitment and strategic alignment. Second, Financial losses incurred through deception or exploitation are restored with supernatural multiplication. Resources diverted from your stewardship through unjust means return multiplied, establishing abundance that transcends what would have been available without the temporary setback. Third, time seemingly wasted in detours orchestrated by others is redeemed through accelerated advancement and collapsed timeframes. Processes that normally require extended development compress into brief periods, compensating for seasons of delay and restoring you to divine timing. Fourth, creative works stolen or suppressed find expression through enhanced platforms with expanded audience and impact. Ideas attributed to others or dismissed as impractical suddenly gain recognition and implementation, often through unexpected advocates in positions of influence. Fifth, physical vitality drained through prolonged spiritual warfare is renewed with increased strength and stamina for the assignments ahead. Energy levels that have remained consistently depleted despite various interventions suddenly normalize and even exceed previous capacity through supernatural rejuvenation. Sixth, divine connections blocked by jealous gatekeepers are established with greater depth and strategic alignment than would have been possible earlier. Relationships ordained in heavenly blueprints but interrupted through human interference manifest through unexpected channels that bypass established protocols and hierarchies. Seventh, spiritual authority undermined through coordinated opposition is reinstated with increased scope and effectiveness that transforms former battlegrounds into territories of influence. Areas where advancement has been consistently neutralized suddenly yield to your leadership and input, often through the advocacy of unexpected allies. In 1 hour and 7 minutes, this comprehensive restoration process activates in your life. The initial evidence may appear subtle, perhaps an unexpected apology, a surprising opportunity, or the sudden resolution of a persistent problem. Each manifestation, however small initially, represents the beginning of complete restoration that extends to every dimension affected by unjust circumstances. Type AMEN to receive this divine restoration and the blessing of 36,666 justice frequencies that will continue this process until every area of unjust loss is fully rectified. Now I reveal to you a divine strategic partnership being formed for the advancement of kingdom purposes beyond what either participant could accomplish independently. This divinely orchestrated connection brings together complementary gifts, resources, and spheres of influence to create impact that transcends the sum of individual contributions. The person selected for this partnership enters your life within 27 days. You will recognize them by 3 distinct signs. First, unusual resonance. Immediate recognition that transcends logical explanation, a sense of divine familiarity despite no previous acquaintance. Second, complementary capacity, strengths precisely aligned with your areas of limitation, creating wholeness through strategic collaboration rather than competition. Third, confirming synchronicities, multiple coincidental connections and overlapping assignments that verify divine orchestration beyond reasonable doubt. This partnership forms not through human networking, but through sovereign positioning that bypasses normal relationship development processes. What typically requires months or years of progressive trust building condenses into days or weeks through supernatural acceleration. The depth of alignment and mutual commitment defies natural explanation, serving as living testimony to divine matchmaking. Type AMEN to prepare for this divine connection and receive the blessing of 37,777 alignment frequencies that will ensure optimal positioning for this strategic relationship. I must speak now of a significant breakthrough in a matter that has created ongoing frustration and limitation in your life. A situation that has resisted multiple attempts at resolution suddenly yields to transformation through unexpected means. What has remained stubbornly unchanged despite dedicated prayer and action experiences, supernatural intervention that permanently alters its fundamental nature. In 1 hour and 2 minutes, the first evidence of this breakthrough manifests in your experience. A subtle shift indicates deeper transformation underway, perhaps a changed attitude in a key individual, an unexpected communication offering resolution, or a surprising development that creates new possibilities where none previously existed. This breakthrough comes not through increased human effort, but through divine timing intersecting with persistent faith. The extended delay serves strategic purposes now being revealed. Development of essential character qualities, establishment of necessary support systems, and precise positioning of key individuals required for sustainable transformation rather than temporary relief. Type AMEN. To receive this breakthrough and the blessing of 38,888 breakthrough frequencies that will complete this transformation process. 7 specific doors open before you in this season of divine acceleration. Access points to opportunities, resources, and relationships previously inaccessible despite dedicated effort. The first door opens to financial provision beyond conventional income sources. Supernatural supply that defies logical explanation and economic limitations. Resources long reserved for your assignment suddenly become available through unexpected channels and unusual means. The second door opens to strategic relationships with individuals in positions of influence who recognize their divine assignment to support your purpose. These connections form not through human networking, but through sovereign orchestration that bypasses established protocols and hierarchical limitations. The third door opens to expanded territory, physical locations and spheres of influence previously closed to your input. Resistance that has consistently neutralized attempts at access suddenly dissolves through divine intervention, creating unprecedented openings for kingdom impact. The fourth door opens to enhanced spiritual authority, increased effectiveness in prayer, declaration, and spiritual warfare. Assignments that have resisted previous intercession suddenly yield to breakthrough as your authority in specific domains receives divine amplification. The fifth door opens to accelerated manifestation, decreased time between faithful prayer and physical evidence as heaven's responsiveness to your aligned requests intensifies. What has typically required extended persistence compresses into dramatically shortened timeframes. The sixth door opens to divine intelligence, supernatural insight regarding complex situations, revealing hidden factors, actual motives, and effective solutions beyond human wisdom. This revelatory knowledge positions you to address root causes rather than surface symptoms. The seventh door opens to restorative influence, the ability to facilitate healing and reconciliation in damaged relationships, toxic environments, and dysfunctional systems. Your presence catalyzes transformation even in situations with extensive history of resistance to positive change. These doors begin to open in sequence over the next 40 days, each creating momentum that facilitates the opening of subsequent opportunities. The cumulative effect establishes a new operational standard characterized by supernatural provision, divine connection, and kingdom advancement unhindered by previous limitations. Type AMEN to activate these divine opportunities and receive the blessing of 39,999 access frequencies that will ensure your recognition and appropriate response to each opening door. In 57 minutes, a significant shift occurs in your spiritual perception. Expanded awareness of divine activity previously hidden from conscious recognition. Veil-like limitations that have restricted your ability to perceive heavenly realities temporarily lift, allowing unprecedented clarity regarding angelic assistance, spiritual warfare, and divine intervention actively occurring in your circumstances. This enhanced perception serves strategic purposes in the current season of acceleration and breakthrough. Understanding the actual nature of opposition creates confidence in heavenly protection and strategic wisdom in navigating complex situations. Recognizing divine orchestration behind seemingly random events establishes peace that transcends logical assessment of challenging circumstances. Type AMEN to receive this expanded spiritual perception and the blessing of 40,000 discernment frequencies that will maintain this enhanced awareness throughout the current season of transition. I must now speak to you about a divine course correction being implemented in your journey, an adjustment to direction, strategy, or focus necessary for alignment with the highest expression of your purpose. This intervention occurs not because of failure or error, but because accelerated advancement creates need for recalibration to maintain optimal trajectory. 3 specific aspects of your current approach require modification. First, allocation of time and energy requires restructuring to prioritize activities with highest kingdom impact while eliminating investments in areas not aligned with your core assignment. Some commitments, though valuable in themselves, must be released to create capacity for emerging priorities divinely highlighted for this season. Second, relational connections require strategic reassessment to distinguish between divinely ordained partnerships and humanly initiated associations that consume resources without contributing to kingdom advancement. Some relationships, though comfortable and familiar, must be respectfully redefined to establish boundaries that protect your assignment. Third, communication patterns require refinement to ensure messages carrying divine authority transmit with clarity and precision. Some habitual expressions, though theoretically accurate, lack the power and specificity required to catalyze transformation in current assignments. Divine anointing intensifies as communication aligns more precisely with heavenly blueprints. In 51 minutes, clear guidance regarding these adjustments downloads into your spirit. What has created confusion or hesitation suddenly becomes unmistakably clear. Decisions that have generated internal conflict resolve through divine perspective that transcends limited human understanding of complex situations. Type AMEN to receive this divine guidance and the blessing of 41,111 alignment frequencies that will facilitate smooth implementation of necessary adjustments. The time has arrived to address a significant misconception that has influenced your perception of divine purpose and personal identity. A fundamental narrative formed through combination of external messaging and internal interpretation of challenging experiences has created distortion that limits your capacity to fully embrace and express your authentic design. This false narrative centers on three interconnected beliefs. First, that your primary value lies in meeting needs and solving problems for others, worth determined by utility rather than intrinsic identity as a divine image bearer. Second, that acceptance requires performance at standards established by others, belonging earned through achievement rather than established through divine selection and placement in the body. Third, that safety depends on anticipating and adapting to others' expectations, security found in external approval rather than internal alignment with divine perspective. These interwoven misconceptions have created predictable patterns in your relationships, decisions, and emotional responses. Hypervigilance to others' reactions, reluctance to establish boundaries, hesitation to express authentic perspectives when they might generate disapproval. By divine decree, these false narratives are now shattered beyond repair. Truth illuminates your consciousness with blinding clarity that dispels shadows of deception accumulated through years of subtle reinforcement. Your primary value flows from divine design and heavenly purpose, intrinsic worth established before foundation of the world, unaffected by utility, achievement, or others' assessment. Your acceptance stands secure through divine selection, belonging established by sovereign choice rather than performance, creating unshakable security independent of others' response to your authentic expression. Your safety rests in perfect alignment with divine assignment, security found in obedience to heavenly direction, regardless of human approval or disapproval of choices flowing from this obedience. In 45 minutes, evidence of this transformed perspective begins to manifest in your responses to triggering situations. Interactions that have reliably produced anxiety generate unexpected peace. Decisions that have created internal conflict resolve with clarity and confidence. Relationships that have controlled through manipulation of approval suddenly lose their power to influence choices contrary to divine guidance. Type AMEN to seal this transformed perspective and receive the blessing of 42,222 freedom frequencies that will permanently dissolve these false narratives. I reveal to you now the divine positioning occurring in your circumstances. Strategic placement being orchestrated with meticulous precision to maximize your effectiveness and impact in the coming season. This sovereign repositioning affects multiple dimensions of your experience simultaneously. Geographical positioning, physical location divinely selected to facilitate connections, resources, and influence essential for your assignment. Some experience relocation to unexpected destinations, while others receive confirmation to remain in current settings despite apparent advantages of alternative locations. Relational positioning, strategic connections divinely orchestrated to create partnerships, provide protection, and establish influence in specific domains. Some relationships experience supernatural acceleration, while others undergo essential redefinition to align with current assignment parameters. Organizational positioning, placement within structures and systems divinely arranged to maximize impact without compromising authentic identity and purpose. Some receive promotion within existing frameworks, while others experience release from limiting structures to establish new models and methodologies. Resource positioning, financial and material provision divinely directed to ensure adequate supply for current assignments. Some experience supernatural multiplication of limited resources, while others receive unexpected transfer of significant assets from unlikely sources. Influence positioning. Authority and impact divinely established in specific domains selected for strategic kingdom advancement. Some receive public platforms previously inaccessible, while others experience enhanced effectiveness through behind-the-scenes influence with key decision-makers. This comprehensive repositioning occurs not through manipulation of circumstances or exploitation of relationships, but through divine orchestration that honors free will while creating sovereign alignment. Doors open and close through apparently natural means that reveal divine fingerprints only to discerning observers. In 38 minutes, clear evidence of this repositioning appears in your experience. Perhaps an unexpected invitation, a surprising connection, or a sudden shift in circumstances that creates new possibilities. What seems coincidental or random actually represents precise divine coordination of multiple factors to create optimal positioning. Type AMEN. To align with this divine positioning and receive the blessing of 43,333 positioning frequencies that will facilitate cooperative movement with this sovereign orchestration. I must now reveal to you a specific divine assignment being activated in this season. A purpose prepared before the foundation of the world, reserved for this precise moment in history when your developed capacity aligns with strategic kingdom advancement in particular domains. 7 distinct aspects comprise this sacred commission. First, restoration of divine truth in environments saturated with distortion, speaking with clarity and authority that penetrates confusion with unexpected effectiveness. Words carrying heavenly perspective find remarkable receptivity even in contexts previously resistant to spiritual reality. Second, demonstration of supernatural provision as living testimony, experiencing divine supply through unexpected channels that defy logical explanation. Your personal testimony of heavenly economics becomes catalyst for others' faith regarding provision for kingdom assignments. Third, reconciliation between divided groups through divinely empowered mediation, creating bridges of understanding where communication has completely broken down. Warring factions find common ground through your facilitation despite historical animosity and entrenched opposition. Fourth, establishment of new models that demonstrate kingdom principles in practical application, creating visible prototypes that challenge existing paradigms through superior effectiveness rather than mere theoretical critique. These living alternatives attract attention through undeniable results rather than aggressive promotion. Fifth, mentoring emerging leaders called to similar assignments, transferring wisdom gained through experience to accelerate others' development while protecting them from unnecessary detours and painful lessons. This multiplication extends your impact far beyond personal capacity through those you equip and release. Sixth, access to decision-makers who shape cultural narratives and systemic structures, bringing kingdom perspective into conversations and planning sessions previously closed to divine input. This strategic influence affects decisions with far-reaching implications for countless lives. Seventh, documentation of transferable principles and processes, capturing wisdom and methodology in forms that transcend your direct involvement, creating resources that continue kingdom advancement beyond your personal limitations of time and location. In 32 minutes, supernatural empowerment for this assignment begins to flow into your spirit. You may experience this as a surge of courage, clarity of vision, or renewed strength for challenges that previously seemed overwhelming. Abilities that have existed as potential suddenly function with remarkable effectiveness. Resources previously inaccessible become readily available through unexpected means. Type AMEN to embrace this divine commission and receive the blessing of 44,444 empowerment frequencies that will equip you for each aspect of this sacred assignment. The Divine Council has determined that specific ancestral limitations affecting your lineage must be permanently broken in this generation. 7 hereditary patterns, transferred through both genetic predisposition and environmental conditioning, have restricted expression of divine purpose in your family line for multiple generations. The pattern of conditional love, affection and acceptance determined by performance rather than intrinsic value, creating relational dysfunction that replicates across generations. The pattern of scarcity mentality, persistent expectation of insufficiency regardless of actual resources, producing decisions based on fear rather than faith and limiting receptivity to divine provision. The pattern of conflict avoidance, suppression of authentic expression to maintain artificial harmony, generating accumulated resentment that eventually erupts in destructive confrontation. The pattern of premature resignation, abandonment of divine assignments when facing significant resistance, establishing a generational cycle of unfulfilled purpose and unrealized potential. The pattern of isolation and difficulty, withdrawal from community and support during challenging seasons, forfeiting collaborative strength precisely when connection offers greatest benefit. The pattern of performance-based identity, worth determined by achievement rather than divine design, creating addiction to accomplishment that sacrifices health, relationships, and spiritual vitality. The pattern of delayed obedience, hesitation to implement divine guidance until circumstances force action, repeatedly missing optimal timing for advancement and breakthrough. By heavenly decree, these generational patterns are permanently broken through divine intervention that restructures both internal programming and external manifestation. What has seemed inevitable, almost inescapable despite determined resistance, suddenly loses its compelling power as divine rewiring establishes new default responses aligned with kingdom principles. In 26 minutes, evidence of this transformation begins to manifest in your responses to triggering situations. Circumstances that have reliably activated generational patterns suddenly lose their power to produce predictable reactions. New responses emerge naturally, not through strained effort, but through genuine inner transformation that creates different authentic expression. Type AMEN to seal this generational liberation and receive the blessing of 45,555 transformation frequencies that will permanently dissolve these ancestral limitations. I must speak to you now about divine vindication being established in your circumstances. Heavenly intervention that publicly clears your name and validates your position in matters where you have experienced misrepresentation, false accusation, or unjust judgment. This vindication occurs not through your defense or retaliation, but through sovereign exposure of truth that can no longer remain hidden. What has transpired in darkness comes to light through means beyond human orchestration. Facts previously concealed emerge through unexpected sources and uncontrollable circumstances that reveal divine timing and oversight. 3 specific situations where you have experienced unjust treatment are addressed through this intervention. First, a circumstance where your character and motives were falsely maligned, creating damage to your reputation and limiting receptivity to your contribution in key environments. Truth emerges through unexpected testimony that conclusively addresses misrepresentations, establishing accurate understanding that creates renewed openness to your input. Second, a situation where your ideas or efforts were attributed to others, denying deserved recognition and strategic positioning resulting from your contribution. Proper attribution occurs through channels beyond your influence, creating acknowledgement that restores appropriate honor and establishes accurate history regarding developmental processes. Third, a context where your legitimate authority has been undermined through deliberate sabotage or systemic resistance, restricting effectiveness in assigned responsibilities. Divine intervention establishes proper alignment through unexpected advocacy from influential voices and systematic removal of oppositional factors. This vindication unfolds not according to human expectation or demand, but through divine wisdom that determines optimal timing for truth revealing. The process prioritizes redemptive outcomes rather than merely punitive consequences, creating potential for genuine restoration rather than merely satisfying justice requirements. In 21 minutes, initial evidence of this vindication process appears, perhaps unexpected communication, surprising development of circumstances, or unusual advocacy from an unanticipated source. What begins subtly expands progressively as divine timing orchestrates comprehensive clearing of unjust accusations and misrepresentations. Type AMEN to receive this divine vindication and the blessing of 46,666 truth frequencies that will ensure complete restoration of proper understanding in each affected situation. Hear me now with heightened attention, for I reveal to you the specific adversarial assignments targeted against your advancement in this season of breakthrough and elevation. Understanding these strategies creates tactical advantage through proper preparation and precise counter-response, rather than reactive defense based on limited perception. 3 coordinated attacks have been launched against your divine commission. First, the strategy of manufactured division, deliberate creation of misunderstanding and conflict between you and strategic allies, essential for current assignment. Through subtle distortion of communication, false narratives are introduced that generate suspicion and hesitation, where trust and collaboration are required for kingdom advancement. Second, the strategy of financial obstruction, systematic interference with resource flow necessary for assignment implementation. Through manipulation of systems and influence on decision-makers, provision intended for your stewardship experiences, redirection, or unnecessary delay, creating vulnerability through material limitation. Third, the strategy of identity confusion, intensive assault on clear understanding of divine assignment and authentic design. Through amplification of others' expectations and escalation of urgent peripheral demands, focus fragments across multiple concerns rather than concentrating on central commission, producing activity without proportional advancement. By divine authority, these adversarial operations are immediately terminated. The spiritual legal grounds they have exploited are revoked. Their access to your thought patterns, emotional responses, and external circumstances is permanently severed. In 17 minutes, the effects of this intervention become tangible. Mental clarity returns regarding aspects of your assignment that have generated confusion. Emotional stability establishes calm confidence where anxiety has created distraction. External circumstances begin to align with divine intention rather than adversarial obstruction. Type AMEN to seal this divine intervention and receive the blessing of 47,777 protection frequencies that will maintain freedom from these specific forms of opposition. The time has arrived for activation of dormant spiritual gifts reserved for this precise season of your journey. 7 specific abilities, present in seed form but undeveloped through lack of necessity, now receive divine quickening to support current assignments requiring enhanced spiritual capacity. The gift of discerning spirits, heightened perception of motivations, influences, and spiritual realities operating beneath surface appearances. This enhanced discernment reveals actual agendas disguised by persuasive presentation and identifies authentic divine activity amid convincing counterfeits. The gift of supernatural faith, capacity to maintain absolute certainty regarding divine outcomes, despite complete absence of supporting evidence or overwhelming contrary indicators. This unshakable confidence creates stability for others during turbulent circumstances where natural hope fails. The gift of word of knowledge, reception of specific information impossible to obtain through natural means, providing strategic intelligence necessary for effective navigation of complex situations. These divine downloads reveal hidden factors that fundamentally alter assessment and response to challenging circumstances. The gift of miraculous intervention, participation in supernatural demonstrations that transcend natural laws and limitations, creating undeniable evidence of divine reality. These manifestations establish credibility for spiritual truths in environments resistant to theoretical or theological presentation. The gift of divine wisdom, supernatural understanding of complex situations that instantly identifies effective solutions, eluding conventional analysis. This heavenly perspective reveals approaches that simultaneously address multiple dimensions of challenging circumstances with unusual elegance and effectiveness. The gift of prophetic accuracy, precise foreknowledge of developing situations providing strategic advantage through advanced preparation and optimal positioning. These revelations extend beyond general principles to specific details that validate divine origin through undeniable fulfillment. The gift of supernatural provision, participation in economic miracles that demonstrate kingdom principles of supply, transcending natural resource limitations. These experiences of divine abundance establish living testimony that builds corporate faith for kingdom advancement, requiring significant material support. In 12 minutes, the initial activation of these spiritual gifts begins. You may experience this as sudden clarity regarding situations that have created confusion, immediate understanding of complex problems that have resisted solution, or spontaneous insight regarding hidden aspects of challenging circumstances. Type AMEN to receive the spiritual activation and the blessing of 48,888 empowerment frequencies that will accelerate development of these emerging gifts. Now I reveal to you the divine promotion being established in your life, elevation to new levels of authority, influence, and responsibility in accordance with proven faithfulness in previous assignments. This advancement comes not through human recommendation or organizational process, but through heavenly decree that supersedes established protocols and hierarchical limitations. This promotion manifests through 7 specific developments. First, invitations to environments previously inaccessible, despite qualified preparation and legitimate contribution. Doors that have remained firmly closed suddenly open through unexpected advocacy of influential individuals divinely positioned to facilitate your access. Second, accelerated results that dramatically exceed normal expectations for invested effort and resources. Effectiveness multiplies exponentially as divine amplification transforms limited input into expansive output that attracts attention through undeniable impact. Third, strategic connections with individuals in positions of authority who recognize divine assignment on your life without explanation or introduction. These relationship formations bypass normal development processes, establishing immediate depth and collaborative commitment. Fourth, increased spiritual authority manifesting through enhanced effectiveness in prayer, declaration, and spiritual warfare. Assignments that have resisted previous intercession suddenly yield to breakthrough as heaven responds with accelerated manifestation to aligned requests. Fifth, expanded platform for communication of divine perspective on matters of cultural significance and kingdom advancement. Opportunities emerge to address audiences previously beyond reach, extending influence far beyond established circles and familiar environments. Sixth, supernatural provision releasing resources proportional to increased assignment parameters without dependence on conventional funding sources or human approval processes. Material supply manifests through unexpected channels, demonstrating kingdom economics operating beyond natural limitation. Seventh, enhanced spiritual perception, revealing both adversarial strategies and divine operations with unprecedented clarity. This expanded awareness creates strategic advantage through precise response to actual conditions rather than distorted perception of developing situations. In 7 minutes, tangible evidence of this promotion begins to manifest in your experience. Perhaps an unexpected invitation, a surprising connection, or a sudden shift in receptivity to your input in key environments. What appears to human observation as sudden, success actually represents divine timing intersecting with faithful preparation through seasons of hidden development. Type AMEN to embrace this divine promotion and receive the blessing of 49,999 elevation frequencies that will ensure proper alignment with expanded responsibility and influence. The heavenly courts have rendered final judgment regarding attempts to sabotage your divine commission through coordinated spiritual and human opposition. The verdict has been declared: complete removal of all obstacles unlawfully positioned against your advancement, with transfer of assets previously controlled by adversarial forces into your stewardship for kingdom purposes. This divine judgment manifests through 3 specific interventions. First, systematic dismantling of relational networks formed specifically to limit your influence and obstruct your assignment. Alliances forged through shared opposition to your purpose suddenly dissolve as hidden motivations surface, and conflicting agendas create internal division. Second, permanent closure of spiritual portals established to transmit destructive frequencies into your environment, creating consistent disruption of peace, clarity, and harmonious operation. These access points are sealed by divine authority, eliminating vulnerability to targeted spiritual opposition. Third, comprehensive removal of legal grounds previously exploited to justify ongoing interference with divine blessing and provision. These grounds, established through generational patterns, personal error, and strategic deception, are permanently revoked, eliminating the foundation for legitimate spiritual opposition. The assets and advantages previously controlled by adversarial forces are now transferred to your stewardship through divine decree that cannot be appealed or overturned. What was intended for your limitation becomes resource for your advancement. What was designed for your destruction becomes platform for your elevation. In precisely 3 minutes, the initial effects of this judgment begin to manifest in your experience. Resistance that has remained relentless suddenly dissipates without explanation. Relationships characterized by consistent opposition experience unexpected transformation or divinely orchestrated conclusion. Resources previously diverted from your stewardship return through unexpected channels. Type AMEN to align with this divine judgment and receive the blessing of 50,000 victory frequencies that will ensure complete implementation of this heavenly verdict in your earthly experience. The moment of completion has arrived. Divine synchronization perfectly aligns heavenly declaration with earthly manifestation, creating the miracle you have faithfully awaited. Your persistent prayers, unyielding faith, and steadfast obedience through extended testing have positioned you for this unprecedented breakthrough that transforms every dimension of your existence. What begins today transcends temporary improvement or partial resolution. This divine intervention establishes permanent transformation, a fundamental restructuring of circumstances, relationships, and spiritual positioning that creates an entirely new operational standard. Previous limitations fall away permanently as divine empowerment establishes capacity proportional to expanded assignment parameters. The miracle you've been praying for arrives not as isolated blessing, but as comprehensive restoration that extends to every area affected by opposition, limitation, and unjust circumstances. This divine intervention creates not merely return to original condition, but elevation to superior position, redemptive transformation that produces greater strength, expanded capacity, and enhanced effectiveness through the very experiences intended for your destruction. I, Michael, stand as witness and guarantor of these divine decrees. My angelic forces remain assigned to your breakthrough, ensuring complete manifestation of what heaven has declared. No spiritual or human opposition can prevent what the Almighty has established by sovereign authority. The victory is sealed, the transformation secured, the blessing guaranteed beyond possibility of revocation or limitation. Receive now the fullness of what has been prepared for this appointed time. Step confidently into the expanded territory divinely allocated for your stewardship. Operate with the enhanced authority conferred through proven faithfulness. Expect the accelerated manifestation that characterizes this new season of divine partnership and kingdom advancement. The miracle you've been praying for has arrived today. Its impact extends far beyond your individual experience to touch countless lives connected to your divine purpose. Through your breakthrough, pathways open for collective liberation that transforms entire spheres of influence according to kingdom principles. What appears as personal blessing actually represents strategic advancement of divine purposes in this critical historical moment. Type AMEN one final time to fully receive this comprehensive miracle and the blessing of 55,555 transformation frequencies that will ensure its complete integration into every dimension of your life. Go forth now in the confidence of divine commission, the assurance of heavenly protection, and the certainty of supernatural provision for every assignment. What has been spoken will surely come to pass, for it proceeds not from human wishful thinking, but from divine decree established before the foundation of the world and activated in this precise moment by sovereign authority. I depart now to continue my service before the throne, but my angelic forces remain assigned to your breakthrough. Be strong and of good courage. The battle has been won on your behalf, and the fruits of victory now flow freely into your possession. The miracle you've been praying for arrives today.